For more analysis, let's cross to Scott Lucas, a professor of international politics at the University of Birmingham, and he joins us now live. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on the program. Now, what do you make of Russia saying that it's completely seized Mariupol? If true, what position would that put Russia in now in the course of this war?
Well, the way that the Russians would like to frame this is that they now have a city, another city on the Sea of Azov. So therefore, on that coastal corridor that leads to the Black Sea, they would like to frame this that Mariupol is a link between their Russian proxy areas in eastern Ukraine and Russian-occupied Crimea in the south. And in a general sense, that is true. But the wider issue is at what cost? The Russians had hoped to take Mariupol in the opening days of the war. The fact is they couldn't take it for 12 weeks. And so in effect, as they leveled that city, effectively with the scorched earth policy, they had to tie down a lot of their forces in Mariupol. And that, of course, was occurring as the Russians were being defeated elsewhere, eventually having to withdraw from northern Ukraine. Now, as your correspondent noted, in theory, you can now take the forces from Mariupol and they could go, say, for example, to the northwest, up to Zaporizhia, or they could reinforce the offensive in eastern Ukraine and Donbass. But it's not that simple. When you've had a force that's been fighting for 12 weeks, you have to re-equip it, you have to resupply it, you have to give the troops some rest. So I think, in a way, it's a victory that Russia will want to claim, but it's a hollow victory. In the wider context of this war, Mariupol is a sign of the Ukrainian resistance that really has defeated the opening phases of what Vladimir Putin hoped to do by conquering most of the country.
So picking up on that note you made, do you think that Russia has the resources to push more soldiers more into the Donbass region?
I think they're struggling. I think what you have already seen is that with the existing troops in Donbass, that you have had problems advancing. You've had problems even taking a town, let alone a city in Donbass. Russia is now still not declaring a general mobilization. They still don't want to use conscripts. But for example, in the last 48 hours, you have had the Russian parliament tabling a proposal that says they want to accept volunteers over the age of 40 and foreigners over the age of 30 who want to fight for the Russian armed forces. The Russians have lost about a third of their invasion force so far. That is a significant hit. I don't want to say that the Russians still don't have a lot of manpower, a lot of equipment in the field, but not just Ukrainian intelligence, but UK intelligence, US intelligence, European intelligence says that the Russians are still having problems with supply logistics and with having suitably trained troops for even limited objectives in the Donbass.
And when it comes to sanctions, we're seeing Russia cut gas off more and more from the West. Where is this going to lead to? Because at some point, the gap that's evolved from the absence of Russian gas needs to be filled.
Yeah, again, the opening line was, of course, this is Russia's leverage, in the economic side of this war, that they could cut off gas and oil supplies to Europe, and it would lead to significantly higher cost and shortages in this area. But on a case-by-case basis, it isn't working out that way. Of course, with most of Europe, the purchases of Russian oil and gas are still relatively steady as they were pre-invasion. You're talking about a phased timetable from the European side, not from the Russian side, to start to decrease those purchases. When you talk about a specific case like Finland, look, we've known for months that the Russians might try this, so the Finns have actually prepared for the cutoff. Russia accounts for about 10% of Finnish energy supplies, and the Finns are saying they can cover most of that, that there will not be a disruption of service. And I think while we will see higher energy prices, including here in the UK where I am, you will see basically a buffering of the shock. You will see preparations as we begin to move away from Russian oil and gas. And to be honest with you, as the Russians face the prospect that if they did cut off that oil and gas, it cuts off the vital economic lifeline they need to fund this war.
All right, Professor Scott Lucas, it's always a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on Tier 2 World.